Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Monday the 16th of April 2018. If you're wondering why I'm recording on a Monday, well, I was going to record on the weekend and then I had a really stressful week, and yesterday car troubles arose and all kinds of things kept on happening. So I actually told everyone I was just going to record next week or next weekend. But then it turns out that we might be going away next weekend, so it is a Monday night. I just finished work, but it's still kind of light outside, so I just thought I'd record a quick episode and at least start catching up on what's been happening knitting-wise, yarn-wise, and if I don't manage to get through the whole thing, at least you'll have some kind of quick episode. So this is a knitting podcast. If you haven't watched before, thank you so much for giving this podcast a try. And if you're coming back, of course, thank you ever so much. In case you're wondering what I'm wearing, I am, of course, wearing my Damiaka Lopa sweater by Pineguri, which is originally written as a cardigan, and I modified it quite heavily. I've talked about that plenty of times in the past, but as you can see, it fits really well. I basically just live in this, and now the lighting is going really funny. I knitted out of Holzgarn, super soft. The main color is called Indigo, this dark blue. The other ones are all noted down in my Ravelry project page. Talking about that, you can find me on Ravelry as the Happy... No, you can't. You can find me on Instagram as the Happy Knitting Podcast. You can find me on Ravelry as Wupfi, which is WUEPFI. And we also have a group which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group. And that can be found on Ravelry under the Groups tab, or I will always link it underneath the video as well. Talking about the group, we currently have our 3,000 subscriber giveaway running. It will run for another week, so you have until next Sunday, most likely, to enter. So please feel free to go over to our group and enter to win some amazing yarn from Mad Fuzzy Yarns, which is a very rustic yarn. There's a prompt to be answered, and thanks to everyone who has answered so far. First of all, that was really, really interesting, and second of all, I didn't really expect so many lovely comments about the podcast, and that made me really happy, so thank you guys for that. We also currently have a knit-along running, which is the sock blankathon, a knit-along to knit out of a sock blank. You don't have to knit socks, you can knit anything you want. All the details for that are also in the Ravelry group. And now, of course, the whole day it's been raining and really dark, and as soon as I start recording, the sun is coming in, so let me fix the lighting situation and I will be right back. So, I'm back. And for today's episode, I want to start with some finished objects, followed by works in progress, and then of course I went to a yarn festival on the weekend, so I have quite a big haul to show you guys if you're interested in that, and I might do some chatter at the end about life in general. So yeah, my finished object for this week is a pair of socks, of course. And that's these ones. These are most likely going to be gifts. And I knit them out of a German sock yarn. The yarn that I used was a new to me dye that I met at a yarn show in Munich a couple of weeks ago, I think in the beginning of February. It's called Volteam. They're a German indie dyer. They have a web shop, which you could find on here, I think. No, I will try to find a link and link it in the box below the video. Anyways, I used their 80/20 merino nylon sock yarn. They don't have colorway names, or at least they didn't for this colorway. So it's just a one-off, and I knit a plain vanilla sock. And I really, really like these. I really just wanted to try the yarn, and I'm happy to have these off the needles. 64 stitches, by the way, on a 2.25mm needle, which is essentially what I always use for my socks. And that is actually it for finished objects, because I've been just accumulating works in progress. So I'll start with my sock whips, which I don't think you've seen before. Oh, actually you've seen one of them, and one is caught in my drawer here. That's not good for the needles, is it? So I started to knit a new pair of socks when I finished the ones that I just showed you, out of the yarn that Sandra sent to me. Sandra, who is Craftfulness, or Sandra's Craftfulness. She has a podcast. She also dyes yarn. She donated some amazing sock blanks for our sock blankathon, which I talked about last week. And she sent me a skein of her BFL base to try. So this yarn is 75% Blueface Leicester, 25% nylon, in the colorway Cold Jumping Jack. And I just decided to cast on. And look at this sock. Isn't this really fun? I really like these colors, these subtle speckles on a sort of beigey base. I just think this is a really, really pretty sock. So I just cast on my standard sock size with 64 stitches. I knit a relatively long leg and have now put in my garter stitch fish lips kiss heel, and I'm working on the foot. And I'm really liking this base. In the beginning I wasn't too sure because it seemed to hurt my hands a little bit more than my usual merino yarns, but I kind of got used to it, and now I really do like it, and I'm going to wear these socks so much. This is a sort of slightly thinner, lighter base, or at least it feels that way to me, and I just really like how it's working up. So that is my first sock work in progress. I am also still working on my Hedgehog fiber socks, which I've named my watermelon socks. And this time I'll tell you in advance that the yarn that I'm using is from the Hedgehog Fibers Sock Club from March. So if you don't want to see it, please look away now because I'm going to show the yarn. So last week I couldn't remember the colorway name, but it is called Cherry Bob, even though I think it looks like a watermelon. And this is what it looks like. I think this is a really different colorway for Hedgehog Fibers because it is so variegated. It's doing these really fun micro stripes. I really like it just because it's a little bit different to what Hedgehog Fibers usually does, and yeah, I really like it. So again, I am knitting plain vanilla socks. I did a 2x2 rib, and now I'm just working. I finished the leg of the sock. I put in a fish lips kiss heel, just a standard one without the garter stitch this time, and I'm now working on the foot. So nothing too exciting with these socks, but I really like them. I just think they're super fun, and watermelons always make me think of like spring and summer, and yeah, I really like it. So that is it for my socks. Next up, oh my gosh, I have so many projects. Next up, I'm going to show you a new sweater that I've cast on, which is of course my Blåfjell sweater by Ellie of Scandier Knits. And I'm sure I have butchered that name, so sorry Ellie. But it is her first garment design. Of course, it's a colorwork sweater, and you guys know my obsession with colorwork. So without further ado, I'm still working on the yoke, and this is where I am. You guys, isn't this just the most beautiful sweater ever? I just absolutely love this design. It is so beautiful and exactly what I love. And sorry, my work phone just went off. So yeah, this yoke is just everything to me right now. I'm gonna try to give you a close-up without dropping all of my stitches. But this is what my stranded color work looks like. I'm actually impressed. It looks really nice on camera. It looks quite even. And if you are interested, this is what my floats are looking like. So yeah, the yarn that I'm using for this is Drops Flora. Let me show you one with a ball band on. So it's a Drops yarn. It's an alpaca wool blend, and I've talked about in the past how much I love this specific yarn base of theirs. I know that some people are not that happy with Drops at the moment. I'm not going to go into detail with that. I do see the point. Anyways, I just really love this yarn, and this is my first time using it for colorwork, but I really like it. It's very soft, but it's still a proper wool yarn, rather than your typical sort of plasticky yarn that sometimes superwash yarns tend to feel like. I don't think this is superwash. No, I don't think this is superwash anyways. Anyways, I just love this yarn. And after working with slightly scratchier yarn, such as that Lopi or this, which is Holz Super Soft, which I'm wearing right now, this just feels so luxurious. And yeah, I just absolutely love this yarn. So I'm doing 3 colors. As you can see, this gray is my main color. This is colorway number 3. I don't know the other colorways off the top of my head, but it's a dark navy as well as a sort of turquoise, and I just love everything about this. I did actually swatch for this, and of course had to go down a couple of needle sizes and sizes in the sweater to make up for my gauge, but it's working out really, really, really well. I also kind of tampered with the short rows in the back, but I think it should be fine. So yeah, very, very excited about this. I just want to work on this and nothing else right now. And I think this is going to be a perfect sweater, and I want to knit like 10 of them. So yeah, enough about that. I'm excited to split for the sleeves, and then it'll be easier to show you guys as well, but just look at that. Isn't it amazing? And my amazing coffee bag from Ellie, another Ellie, who unfortunately I didn't get to meet on the weekend. That was so sad. But in here is, of course, my Fern and Feather sweater by Jennifer Steingas. And with this, I'm still working on the body. So let me try to show you where I am. So this is the Fern and Feather sweater. Last time I had, I think, just split for the sleeves. So now I have just worked on the body. I had a really stressful week, and I was just knitting on this round and round and round, and it was great for a stressful week because it was just super plain, and I think I'm pretty close to being done with the body now. I really have to try it on and see how it goes. But yeah, I'm still really liking this. This is quite a big contrast to the last yarn that I just showed you, because this is Austrian pure wool. It is very sheepy. It smells like an entire stable of sheep right now. It's very rustic, but I also really like this yarn. Also, what I did is, because I was worried about the neckline rolling and you seeing the floats, I have picked up the stitches and knit a ribbed neckband, but now it's kind of too tight because obviously the sweater wasn't meant to have an additional neckband. So I'm not really sure. I don't want to rip it out just yet, but it might get ripped out. I'm not quite sure. I like the look of it, but it looks kind of weird when I'm wearing it. But then again, I haven't blocked it. So the smart thing would probably be to just finish the sweater, block it, and I can always just rip it out. Just the neckline. I just picked up the stitches from the rolled hem and then knit upwards. So that's my Fern and Feather sweater. Again, I really like this. I just wish I had more time to work on it. The last work in progress that I have to show you is the Impressionist Mystery Knit Along by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade, and I am halfway through clue 3. So if you do not want to see it, if you do not want to see a spoiler, again, please skip 5 minutes because I'm going to show the shawl. Although I should say I will try to show the shawl, but my needles are quite short, so you might not be able to tell you might not be able to tell too much about the shawl anyways. But so it is a mystery knit along. The third clue came out on the weekend. And how do I show this to you? This is going to be a big shawl. So yeah, this is impossible to show you guys, but this is kind of what it looks like. Of course, what I'm holding up at the top is supposed to be the straight edge, but because my needles are too short, it kind of looks really wonky. But you can see the first clue has like the stripes and slightly sort of like fading effect. The second clue then started with this lace, which I thought was really, really interesting. It was a really beautiful lace section, and then this white section is the beginning of clue 3. And I am now finished with the lace and onto some more mindless garter stitch knitting. So yeah, I'm still really just enjoying just working on it every now and then. I'm not really giving the end product too much thought because obviously we don't know how it's going to look in the end anyways, but so far I'm liking it. And yeah, I'm knitting this on 3.5mm needles, which is smaller than you're supposed to, just because I like to knit my shawls on 3.5mm needles and my gauge tends to be quite loose anyways. And the 3 yarns that I'm using, this white one is by a German company called Zauberwiese. It's in their 75% wool, 25% nylon base. And no, it is not. It's 75% wool, 25% silk. And colorway number is 5763, but I think it is a one-of-a-kind colorway. Then this pink colorway is a yarn that I found in France. It's by Tôle Matin Yarns. She has an Etsy shop based out of France, and this is in the Enchanté colorway. And this is a 100% merino yarn. And my 3rd yarn, which I haven't used very much of so far, is another German yarn, but I bought it in Vienna. This is Das Mondschaf in, what's the colorway called? I can't find it. I have a couple of Mondschaf tags in here. Oh yeah, it's called Greyjoy. And this is in her sparkle base, which is called Andromeda, which is 75% wool, 25% polyamide, and 5% silver stellina. So yeah, that is my Impressionist Mystery Knit Along shawl, and I'm just really enjoying working on it every now and then. I'm not pressuring myself that much to be knitting it super fast, but I seem to be catching up okay. So that is it for my works in progress. So next up, I will just show you my yarn haul or acquisitions that I got at the Yarn Festival over the weekend, which was a yarn festival in Hohenlohe, which is in Germany, basically in the middle of nowhere. To this point, I have no idea why someone organized a beautiful yarn festival in that location, but I went there on the weekend with my sister. And you guys, it was really, really fun. And I really liked everything about it. I didn't expect too much, but I was really overwhelmed with the amount of really nice yarn and lovely dyes and interesting yarns and everything. It was just a really, really fun event. So before I talk about the yarns, first of all, I should say thank you to those of you who approached me and said hi. I really appreciated it. I get really awkward with these things, so sorry if I seemed very off. Also, I kind of felt like a few people maybe wanted to say hi and didn't do it. I felt like a couple of people were kind of like looking at me, and I didn't really know. So if you saw me, yeah, next time just say hi. And I just had a really fun time. How many more times can I say that? So I have a big bag of yarn right next to me. I will just show you what I got. I know that some people don't like to see stash enhancement, and that is completely fine. If you're not interested in that, then I'll just see you again next week. But I'm just going to show because I really like supporting indie dyers, and I love yarn, and personally I really like seeing other people's yarn. It doesn't necessarily make me feel bad about myself or jealous or whatever. So I'm just going to show you if you're interested, and yeah. But before we do, I think I need to readjust my light because now the sun is gone and I'm kind of sitting in utter darkness. So I'm back, and I've taken the time to also kind of rearrange all the yarns around me so I can hopefully show them to you with some kind of system to the madness. But I'm not going to show you in chronological order or whatever. I'm just going to go for it and show you what I got. So where should I start? Maybe I'll start with my first purchase of the day, which I kind of allowed myself to. I had a plan for most things that I wanted to get, but I said a couple of things I'll just pick up if I feel like them without a huge plan for them. And so I allowed myself to pick up one spinning related item, and that is this fluffy cloud. There was this company, it doesn't even say anything on here about it. It looked quite local, and they had huge bats. And then they had this one, which was much smaller than the other ones. I think the other ones were like 150 grams of yarn. This is only 70 grams, but look how big it looks. So this is a bat. It is called Frozen. It is a 90% merino, 10% nylon blend. And I just think I will spin some fun sock yarn out of this, and it'll be really pretty. So I'm sorry I can't tell you where I got it. I only am realizing now that it doesn't say anything about where this fiber came from, but I picked it up and it's a fluffy cloud and I love it. Oh my gosh, it is so soft. Next up, I hit one booth that I was really excited about, and that was the booth from Maike, who is Das Regenbogenschaf. I will quickly show you her tag so you know who I'm talking about. And if you've been watching the podcast, you may remember her because in the past she's already sent me some yarn to try, and also gave some away on the podcast. So she's been a big supporter of the podcast, and it was so great to meet her in person. So we met up at her stall, which was so beautiful, you guys. She had these samples and lying around, and I just wanted to buy everything. So yeah, in the end, I really wanted to get 2 sweaters quantities, which is kind of crazy, but in the end I settled on 1. So the base that I really wanted to try again is the Pinta base, which again, this is the base that I've already tried in the past. But Maike told me that now this base is spun and what's the word? It's just crafted differently. So whereas the previous Pinta base used to be a little bit more on the rough side and uneven side, this new Pinta version is much softer and much more even, which is beautiful. And I should tell you, the content of this is a 60% merino extra fine, 20% mulberry silk, and 20% rami, which is really interesting. You could use this for socks, and I have used the previous rami blend for socks, or Pinta blend for socks before, but this is so soft, you guys. So I knew I wanted to pick up a sweater's quantity to knit myself a sweater. And I got these 3 beautiful skeins. I feel like I'm not doing a very good job at showing this to you guys. But these are the 3 skeins that I picked up to knit some kind of probably faded or maybe striped or colorwork sweater. But most likely it should be a faded sweater. This is fingering weight yarn. And the colorways are Darling, which is this one. This one is called Nixe. And this one is called Macchiato, which of course I love because I'm obsessed with coffee. So I got these 3, and then Maike was super generous and said, well, why don't you pick up a skein of our sock yarn as well and just try that. So that was super generous, and I picked out this skein of sock yarn. This is a merino sock blend. It's a 75% wool, 25% polyamide base. And this feels really soft. Thank you so much, Maike, for the amazing yarn. I'm so excited about this, and I kind of want to knit it all up immediately. The next thing that I picked up was a skein of sock yarn that basically just jumped out at me. I was just walking and I saw this one skein and it looked at me and I really wanted to have it. And this is a skein of sock yarn from a new to me indie dyer. Her name is Valentina Volante, and she sells mostly through Facebook, I think. And this is just an 80/20 merino nylon sock yarn, and I just really like the color. It doesn't have a colorway name, but I just thought it was really fun. It's super soft and it will be a fun pair of socks. My mom actually said that she really liked this colorway, so maybe they'll be for her, but we'll see. Next up, I found another new to me yarn dyer that was really interesting. And this is all naturally dyed yarn, and the company is called Knit Time. Zeit for Wolle. And they had really interesting yarns, and all of the yarns are completely naturally dyed. It says the sock yarn is from Chester Wool Co., which I assume is where they source their yarn. And I picked up these 3 beautiful skeins of a 75% merino, 25% nylon to knit myself a sweater. I just thought these, I really like the structure of the yarn. It feels really lovely and it's just beautifully tonal, and I think it's going to make a great sweater. So I'm actually really excited with this purchase, and again, everything they had the different dyes and bases, everything looked really lovely. So yeah, very excited about this. Another thing that I picked up, or that I generally tended towards, and that was a new to me thing, was I really loved, and I saw a lot of yak bases. And that was really interesting because we've been talking about yak in the giveaway thread on Ravelry, and I've just had it on my mind, so maybe it was something about that. So I picked up, or I looked at lots of different yak yarns, but one that I just couldn't leave there was a skein of yak sock yarn. Have you ever had yak content in a sock yarn before? I just thought that was so intriguing, I had to try it. So this is a yak sock. It's 70% merino, 20% yak, and 10% polyamide of fingering weight yarn. And this is the company that, again, I hadn't heard from them before, but they had really interesting yarns. So they had a couple of mittens knit up in this base again, and they looked so beautiful. This is almost kind of too luxurious to use for socks, but then I'm really interested in trying yak socks. So I'm not quite sure, but I just thought I have to try this. This is really interesting. And yeah, so I picked it up. And the next purchases I made were kind of my naughty purchases. Like I said, I knew in advance that I was going to go crazy with some things that weren't really planned for. First of all, I picked up this huge skein. This is a 150-gram skein from a yarn company called Dibadoo, and they are quite famous in Germany, but I never picked up the yarn. And they had a huge display, and oh my gosh, you guys, they were probably my favorite store. I could have just bought everything. But I was kind of good and only bought, I'm not sure if only is the right word, but I picked up this skein, and this is actually one of their crazy, what's it called? Twisted Merino Trio. But anyways, what it is it's actually 3 skeins, 3 50-gram skeins of yarn twisted together that together turn out to make this sort of like fade. So as you can see, there's 3 separate little skeins of yarn, and this one just really spoke to me, so I just decided to go for it, go crazy, and this will be one beautiful shawl. I'm thinking about knitting a faded dotted rays shawl. I've knit one before by Stephen West. Maybe it's time to knit another one, I'm not quite sure yet. So, of course, my phone rang, and this is why I don't record on work nights, because even though it is quite late, work keeps on happening and keeps on interrupting. But anyways, now it is kind of dark-ish, so I've turned on the light and I will just try to finish this somewhat quickly. So I had just finished talking about my Dibadoo yarn, which I love, and I should probably... Doesn't say anywhere where you can find them. Why don't they put their homepages onto their cards? Anyways, I will try to link all of this. And the last dye that I wanted to talk to you guys about is one that was completely new to me again, and probably one of my favorite dyes. Okay, I say this about all the dyes, but definitely one great surprise that I found there. And the dye that I'm talking about is, the company that I'm talking about is Lismi Knits. At least I think that is how you pronounce it. This is their yarn tag. And I had the pleasure of meeting the genius behind it, who is also a designer. And it was really nice chatting with her. And she said she had previously dyed in the States and moved back to Germany, and is kind of now setting up their store again in Germany, which is really interesting. So this is the skein that completely sold me and drew me to her booth. And although I just had said that I'm done with buying yarn, I had to buy this immediately. This is called Ice Cream. It's in her Boston base, which is a 100% extra fine merino superwash. Fingering weight yarn. Oh no, it's not. It's 320 meters per 100 grams. See, I didn't even notice that. So it's about a sport weight, I guess. And yeah, I just really love this skein. In fact, I loved it so much that I came back later to the same stall because I wanted to get more yarn. So I also picked up this, which is a sock yarn. This is the Meersburg base, which is a 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon base in the Marbles colorway. And this is just beautiful. And then I finally also found a skein for Kai. I had been looking for a yarn for him, but he's quite picky with the yarns that he liked. But then I found the perfect skein for him, which is this one. He said he wanted a neon one, but no pinks or reds or purple, and this is absolutely perfect for that. This is also a 90% merino, 10% nylon base, but it has a different twist. I think this is a 2-ply base. And this is a 125 gram skein, which equals 439 meters. And the colorway is Spring Breeze, and I love it. I really, really like this yarn. Can you tell? And I'm excited to have 3 different bases to try. And yeah. So that is it for a somewhat all over the place podcast. I am so sorry for that, but it was either this or not recording. And like I said, we might be going away next weekend as well. I have no idea really what's happening with that. So I just thought I'd get a podcast in just in case. And I will see you again either the following weekend or maybe even next weekend. No one really knows. So I think I'm not going to talk about life in general because it's already quite late and I honestly need some food. It is getting dark and I have just worked like 9 hours, so I'm pretty done for the day. But I'm so glad that I got the chance to chat with you guys. Please remember to enter the giveaway, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And if you have any questions, you can always get in touch with me through the comments, through Ravelry, through Instagram, even though Instagram is slightly more complicated because I don't always get a notification. So I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you have fun with your knitting. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Happy knitting. Bye.